Next, to lead a conversation with one of YouTube's most successful creators, Ingrid Nilsen, please welcome Creative Effectiveness Lead at Google, Johannes Helms.
Well, welcome to the StratFest.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
All right. So, thank you for coming out here. I mean, you're now New York based, so it's not that much of a ride, but with these weather conditions, right, you never know.
Yep.
So thank you so much. I'm just going to quickly tell you how we're going to do this today, and what we're going to talk about. Obviously, we already chatted about how we're going to do this, so just for you, I'm going to start with a little bit of like a rapid fire round of questions so that you get to know Ingrid. Then dive deeper a little bit into your work, how you work with brands, and how you use YouTube, and YouTube can be used also to influence like purchasing decisions, but way further down the funnel. And then at the end, we have 5 minutes just dedicated for you, so that's what we're counting on them. To submit questions through Slido, please start thinking about your questions you have for Ingrid, and then we're going to tackle those in the end. You're going to tackle those in the end.
Yes.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, so, how would you describe your YouTube videos in 3 words?
Intentional, creative, and fun.
All right, next question. We're not going to react to this. If you weren't a YouTube creator, what would you be?
Anything creative. So, a baker, a teacher, I would love to work at a bookstore, a painter. I would just do anything that would allow me to be surrounded by things that I love and also be creative at the same time. Oh, a writer.
There we go. And what is your favorite song right now?
Well, it's not really a song, but it's a Spotify playlist. So I actually haven't been listening to a lot of music with lyrics in it. I listen to a lot of classical music. And I actually really love the Spotify playlist called Pure Serenity, especially at nighttime. So if anybody's looking for some nice, peaceful music where you can really like just get in the zone with yourself, that's a great one.
Check it out. I'm going to check it out.
It's super relaxing. It's great for reading too.
Okay. So if you had to live over one day in your life over and over again, which day would that be?
I was recently in Paris and I went to Versailles, which was personally a huge moment for me because it was like 11 years after the first time I had been there, and I'm in a totally different season of life now, and I would love to relive that day because it was just really emotional and personal.
So this is one of my favorite questions. So if there would be a movie made about you, maybe you in Versailles, which actress or which actor would play you and why?
Well, I'm gonna say Chrissy Teigen because having somebody who is like just racially accurate is important to me, and Chrissy Teigen is the only celebrity that I can think of who has the closest mix to what I am, since my dad is Norwegian and my mom is from Thailand, so I only have one option that I know of. So that's saying something.
Anyone has connections, if you know her already, then you're going to make that movie.
Well, we need more representation. Yeah. We need more people in media and just in the public eye. Because it's a big statement to say, you know, there's only one person that I can think of off the top of my head that would actually match my background.
Yeah. And well, pivoting here from this, did you have like a seriously embarrassing moment on camera or off? Is there something you can share?
Embarrassing moments. Let me think. I feel like most of my embarrassing moments happen off camera, where I'm like falling over in the chair that I'm sitting in and things like that, because that does happen. I usually have a lot of stuff around me. I'm trying to like reach for things. I have fallen over and we have camera footage of that happening, or just like bodily functions happening in the middle of filming and that being captured. Use your imagination for that one.
Do you keep that stuff in for clickbait or just for the fun moment?
Sometimes it's in there and sometimes it's not. It just kind of depends. But I'm not a clickbaity person, right. So if I feel like it doesn't fit with what I'm doing, then I cut it out.
And so another fun one here is, what has been your best purchase in life?
My dog, he's a rescue, and I had to pay $500 to rescue him, so definitely the best purchase. And he costs me thousands of dollars every year because of the food he eats, taking him to the vet, but he's the best thing. I love having him.
That's awesome. And my last question is, if you would have to wear a t-shirt with something written on it for 1 year, assuming that this shirt kind of cleans itself and stuff, what would it say?
It would say celebrate on it, because I think that's important, and that's a lesson that I'm learning right now, to just celebrate things more.
Well, you're definitely a celebrated YouTuber, like YouTube creator, whatever word is the right one, who has like a lot of done around causes as well. If you can bring this to life, what you've done around as a UN change ambassador, as well as with the reproductive health efforts you've driven, if you want to illuminate us around your work there, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So I have been involved in menstrual awareness activism for 12 years, so longer than I've been on YouTube. And this started when I was a teenager, and I'm 30 now. And this activism just played out really naturally in my YouTube videos over the years. I became aware when I was a teenager that there was definitely a stigma around periods. I was doing volunteer work, and I recognized that no one was donating pads or tampons. And as I got older, I found out that they're one of the most needed items in shelters, but they continue to be the least donated of items, especially when a natural disaster occurs. Like, that need goes up even more, because a lot of people think, oh, well, babies need diapers, and like a lot of diapers get sent, and you see that in the press too. But people are also still menstruating. You literally can't stop it for a lot of people. So it's really important for people to have these essential products, and they have been seen as a luxury item for a long time. And so I've been deeply immersed in this space. It's something that I really care about, and this activism led me to the White House in 2016 when I interviewed President Obama. And I stumped him when I asked him why there's a luxury tax on tampons, and he admitted to not knowing that it existed. And he said he didn't know why it existed, but he guessed that it was probably because men made that law, and he is right. So, that moment went viral because it turned out that a lot of other people didn't know that this luxury tax existed. And, Time even had periods on the cover of their magazine that year. And a little over 3 years later now, I'm happy to report, even though change is incredibly slow, that multiple states have changed their laws and repealed the tampon tax. And now people are digging deeper into what's called the pink tax. I don't necessarily love that name because it is a bit gendering, but there are multiple layers to this tax, and it affects a lot of people, especially when you think about specifically women who have families who are the sole breadwinner. It vastly impacts their lives, and period poverty is a real thing. And I just recently learned, because there's actually not a lot of research on this, that 1 in 5 girls in the US either have had to leave school early or miss school entirely just because she didn't have access to the proper period products. And that, I think, is astonishing to a lot of people, that is happening in our country. That's not an outside of the US thing, that's happening now. So you can tell I am very into this, but I've also been a change ambassador for the UN, and that was talking, I was talking to the UN about gender equality, and I very much entered that space since I am a queer woman. I wanted to advocate for queer people because there was a lot of conversation around just cisgender people, men and women. They weren't taking into consideration trans people or people who are, you know, identifying somewhere else on the spectrum. And so that's what I went in with and jumped right into the bathroom debate right when it was, you know, at its most heated point. So that's a little glimpse into the things that I've done with my platform.
It seems like you had like a lot of impact already.
Yes.
And especially with the
Yeah.
bathroom.
YouTube changed their bathrooms
Yeah.
because of me.
There you go.
Because I called YouTube out for having gendered bathrooms, and now they've changed all the signage on their bathrooms, and that was really cool. I was actually at a YouTube event, and someone at YouTube came up to me and was like, because of you, you changed our bathroom signs. So.
I mean, like that must be also very empowering for you, like seeing this impact and this change happening on like even like on a global and like on a policy level, as well as like bigger corporations as well. But I would love also to talk about a bit about the relationship you have with your viewers and how you can how you empower your viewers, your fans through those engagements, and if you can bring to life a little bit the engagement you have and this relationship you have with your audience, that would be amazing. Learn a little bit more about that.
Well, since I've been on YouTube for 10 years, I started when I was 20 and I'm 30 now. My audience has definitely grown up with me. And so, you know, when I started, it was very much a like maybe 15 to 25-year-old demographic, and now it's 25 to 35. And I think now at this 10-year mark, one of the most meaningful things to me is just the random interactions that I have on the street in New York City, where women, you know, of all different backgrounds, all different religions, all different career paths will stop me and tell me what my videos have meant to them. And I've noticed this shift from, you know, in the early days it was like, oh my God, you introduced me to my favorite lipstick. And now it's like, you introduced me to my favorite lipstick and you've also had this huge impact on the course of my life. And that is the thing that really is just a big deal to me, to know that my work in some way has touched these individual lives. And I was just on Capitol Hill on Monday, and I was moderating a panel about period poverty there, and in the audience there were 2 viewers, which was really cool to know that there are 2 viewers who are now working on Capitol Hill.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think like the aspect of like this fan interaction, obviously you have these conversations when you meet people on the street or in those kind of settings. Do you use also other like the comments and other data points to help you inform like what the audience, how the audience reacts to your videos, and does it inform also like creative choices of what you talk about in your videos and how you navigate those conversations as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the comments can be such a helpful tool. It's obviously the internet, and there are some things about comments that just really suck, but there's also this positive aspect to comments too, and I've been able to really dig into that space. And what I love is the ideas that come from the comments, and so it's really a balance for me because I'm very much a creative, and you know, ultimately what I'm making is going to be an expression of something that's inside of me, but there are also things that can take those ideas to the next level. And so, like for example, the video that I'm coming out with this week on Friday is a format I've never done before. It's a makeup tutorial that I did all in one take, and I didn't know exactly what the end result would be with the look, and a viewer left a comment with the theme of doing something outside of my comfort zone, and I loved that. I loved that it wasn't like, you know, something more predictable like a fall makeup look or holiday or something like that. It was this broader theme, and I thought that was so creative. So I took that and ran with it and built a whole video around it. So I definitely take in the feedback for sure.
That's I mean like that's great to hear, like how you interact and how like also the viewers influence like creative choices and give you inspiration for that. But it's also working the other way, where you inspire viewers to do something or to bring products to life, and you work with brands as well. So let's pivot to that aspect a little bit, and I would love to hear from you now that your viewers are also placing this immense trust in you as a creator, and value so much your opinion. I'd love to hear how you've worked with brands to raise awareness for a new product that's coming out, and if you have some examples you can share there, just to see how you approach this kind of promotion aspect from that.
Yeah, well, one of the most recent things that is currently still happening right now is a collaboration that I have with Fresh Beauty. So I have been using Fresh products for a very, very long time, and I've had a relationship with the brand for years, and this is something that we've been talking about doing for the last 3 years. And so they are one of the products that they're known for are their Fresh Sugar Lip Treatments, which are tinted lip balms, and I worked with them over the last year to co-create a limited edition shade with them, and I actually have it on today. I'm a great ambassador, but I genuinely love this brand, and this was a really special project because they allowed me to really come in to the brand and their creative process. I got to work with one of the co-founders. I went to the lab in France. I got to see the product actually being made. I got to see the pigment going into the balm and see it being mixed, and I got to pour it into the molds. And so I was there for every single step of the product process and the product, from concept to the final product, and it's just been so cool to see that coming to life, and also how it's really resonated with my audience, because I have been talking about Fresh and using Fresh for years. This is something that they're super familiar with, and it is a bestseller at Sephora, and it's also the #1 bestseller for Fresh right now. So that is really cool. So not only was it this amazing creative process for me, but it was something that spoke to my audience and was right in line with what their lives are like right now.
Congratulations for that launch.
Thank you.
And just to plug quickly research that we as Google and 4A's did together, we learned that YouTube is not only being used to raise awareness for a new product, but also further down the purchasing funnel, that people are coming to YouTube to have inform themselves about it, as well as make that final decision before going out and shop. Do you have any examples of how you work with brands to especially drive product sales, to especially close the last step there in your videos?
Yeah, so another thing that I did earlier this year was a collaboration with Jo Malone, and this one was very specifically YouTube centric. So with the Fresh collaboration, there has been a lot of just promotion in various spaces, but the Jo Malone collaboration was very focused on YouTube. And so Jo Malone is also a brand that I've been using for a long time. The one perfume that I wear pretty much every single day, for the last 7 to 8 years, has been their Peony and Blush Suede. And so they asked if I would create this limited edition solid perfume duo with them. And of course I said yes, because I got to pick the combination that I wanted. Peony and Blush Suede was one of the scents, and people were so used to hearing me talk about Peony and Blush Suede. So in my YouTube video that I made for Jo Malone, I actually included pretty much every point in all of my videos over the last 10 years where I mentioned Jo Malone, Peony and Blush Suede. So it was just a montage of me saying Peony and Blush Suede, Peony and Blush Suede, and you could see this evolution of myself, but how this one thing remained constant, and that was just cool to see from a personal perspective, but it was also something that the brand really loved, and this again was something that my audience was just so used to me using and talking about. And so when this collaboration came out, it sold out not once or twice, but 3 times. So, Joe Malone is also at a higher price point, but to me this showed that because this is something that is just more than a perfume to me, it has been such a personal part of my life for so long. People felt invested in that, and they were willing to invest their money in something that, they could reuse, that would last them a while, and that they could easily carry with them in their bags. And that, again, is hitting like where my audience is now. Like, this was something that made sense for their lives.
I think we're running out of time. Do we have 5 minutes for the questions? Perfect. So let me quickly just ask one question so we can start queuing up the questions from the audience. Do you have any creative tools you use in order to talk to your audience, to take action, to get this product to drive a little bit more that aspect of action? Like, I'm thinking, do you use links in the description? Do you use link cards that are part of the engagement features? How do you, is it something in your language you use in order to help drive this action?
Yeah, I definitely let them know that there are links in the description, and typically I will try to push back to one singular place. So like with Joe Malone, the YouTube video, and so it's like a central hub for people.
Cool. Do we have any questions? Well, that's how we, submit questions. If there are any questions in the room, we can just ask them as well. If you just want to raise your hand. Oh, they're over there.
So you've been a top YouTube creator for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. That's a very enviable position to hold for so long, particularly as you've evolved a lot. How have you managed to evolve with your audience, to keep them engaged? Has your audience changed over that time? How have you maintained your relevance for such a long period?
Yeah, I really allowed my work to evolve with me, and I think that has been the biggest thing, because when I started, this wasn't a career path for people, and so it's very much been figuring it out along the way. And I think the most important thing for me has been allowing my content to change with me, because it can be very easy to just stick with what you think you know and not allow yourself to branch out. And I'm really proud of myself for allowing myself to explore whatever the new version of my content is. And I can really see the change from my beginning videos, not just in terms of the quality and the editing, but just the things that I'm talking about now. I still talk about products because I love beauty, I love fashion, but it is very reflective of how I live my life now. And my number one core value is integrity. So everything stems from that. And because YouTube is very much, now a business about being yourself, that is so important, and people see through that. And I think that's why I've had such a long career, because people have been able to see that I have allowed myself to continue to be myself. And I think that's just the ultimate life goal, and it's pretty cool that it's been able to walk hand in hand with my career too.
We have the questions up now. Thanks for the question over there. Maybe this pivots a little bit of your evolution as a creator as well, but what is the biggest mistake brands make with influencers?
I think one of the biggest mistakes brands make is trying to control things too much. So I understand that there is an aspect of you're paying for a service, and that should definitely be understood, and I definitely understand that, but I think there also has to be an element of freedom allowed to the influencer or the creator, because they know their audience the best, and they're immersed in this world every single day. They're making content all the time, and so to allow them to give feedback in terms of, I think this will actually work better, and not being so married to a very rigid idea that you're walking in, but maybe having a concept and then working with the creator to figure out how is this going to work well for everyone? Because there's always a way where it can be really great for the creator and it can be really, really great for the brand too. And that's fun. That's like a creative process.
Right. Been in many conversations like that as well. I can totally see why like where you're coming from there. And going back to your past, how did you go about starting your YouTube career?
So I started in 2009 and I made my first YouTube video on the camera of my laptop. I didn't really know how to work anything, definitely did not know how to edit, but I was prompted to start my YouTube channel because I was just at this really horrible place in my life. Quite honestly, my dad had died, just a couple years before, and I was really suffering. I had a mom who was sick for all of my high school years. She had cancer, and life was just dark. And I felt really, really isolated. And I, went on the internet looking for just something that could make me feel good or make me just feel a little bit better. And at that time, I was exploring makeup more, and I just, was searching for makeup and found these women from all over the world talking about things that they loved, the makeup that they were using, and also showing like how they used it. And I was just like, oh my God, I feel like these women could be my friends. And it was just so comforting at that point in my life. And so about a year into watching videos, I decided, well, I feel like I've gained so much from these women. I'm gonna try making my own YouTube videos. And I've always been creative, and my creativity kind of got stuffed away during this difficult point in my life. And it was just the best creative outlet to have. And I feel like it was the starting point for allowing me to start healing myself, having that creativity again. So that is my origin story in a nutshell.
I think that's a great way to end also this little fireside chat. Thank you so much for coming out here and spending some time with us.
Yeah.
I think it was awesome. Please give a warm welcome.